last 20 years in the region have been foreign investments and institutional reforms in this country. So we saw a decline of foreign investments in the region. So the question I would pose is it the global economic crisis the main cause for economic problems in the region? And I don't think so. I don't connect it to the impact of financial crisis because of less financial resources worldwide. So, although integration into the world markets, into the global economy, it seemed to be a fortunate event for some countries, this will be also one of the main barriers for further economic development. So, economic problems, to my opinion, are related mostly to various institutional and administrative weaknesses in this country. Southeast Europe economies suffer a serious lack of competitiveness. This can also be seen by the level of FDI, which is much lower than the Central European countries. Today, there is mere evidence that the investment geographic distribution is strongly influenced by the host country political and institutional quality because it reflects the foreign investors' confidence in the domestic investment and environment. And this is more important for the countries of Southeast Europe since all of them has experienced instability during the last 20 years. The region, which really offers unique opportunities in terms of strategic position, proximity to Western Europe, natural resources, human capital, nevertheless has remained very low in investments in the global context. And even within the region, we have a different distribution of foreign investment. As you see in 1992, the stock of FDI per capita, so per inhabitant in the countries, were almost similar. Then after 19 years, you see a big difference in the inflow of foreign investments in the countries of the region. Some of the main concerns of foreign investors are the political and institutional instability in the region, underdevelopment of the economies, wars, ethnic problems. The transition process is not finished yet in many of the countries of the region. Institutional reforms have been superficial. New laws have been always passed in the parliaments but not implemented. So there is a huge gap between the formally adopted laws and the ability of the institutions to enforce them. Most of the countries still lack the political stability, democratic accountability of decision-making, bureaucracy, organized crime, and corruption flourishes in most of this country. There is a poor infrastructure. There is a thriving informal market. There are problems with property rights, administrative barriers, non-transparent privatization process, weak results in fighting corruption. So this is a survey done by the World Bank with some very serious potential investors in the region, and they have listed what are their main concerns about investing in this region. Another factor of drop of foreign investments in Southeast Europe might be also connected to the fact that mostly of them they are market seeking, so they are looking about the market here and are not export oriented. The quality of investments also did not stimulate strong industrial development and sustainable growth through the spillover effects, and this is due to the absence of serious greenfield investments. There are some various international institutions which also raise concerns about the quality of education and training in Southeast Europe. We might say, we have a lot of universities, we have a lot of people which have 2 or 3 degrees. In my country, we are just 3 million people and we have 53 universities. So there is huge education. The problem is not on the quantity, but it's in the quality of the education which is offered in these countries. So these problems are related to the inadequate public expenditures for education, but also institutional weaknesses in policy formulation and implementation. So key for growth in these countries will be the development of the quality of education rather just of the school enrollments. The lower is the quality of the workforce, the less qualitative are the investments. So in the sense that they'll look just for the cheap labor and the good effects or positive effects will be just in the short term. Another weak point of Southeast Europe is the level of trade. The region is involved in trade, but still very limited. The degree of openness of this region is really very low compared to other Central European or Western countries, with Albania having the lowest level and Bulgaria having the highest level of integration. Intra-regional trade is very low, intra-regional, so within the region. And it's also dominated by commodities, not intra-industry trade. The main problems still lie on non-tariff barriers, but on long administrative procedures. Namely, there are two taxes which are, they are called bribe tax and time tax in Southeast Europe. They are non-tariff barriers. And you see, this is the corruption tax, the bribe tax. You see the number, the percentage of the firms which are expected to pay informal bribes for getting things done. And you see, you can compare countries of Southeast Europe with countries of Central Europe. And the other one is the time tax, the time that you spend in meeting, for example, tax officials to get things done. And you see in Albania, for example, you have to go 5.5 times just to pay your taxes, while in Slovenia, just 1.4 times. So these are the priorities for Southeast Europe. So the global crisis, it's just an additional, to my opinion, explanation for the stagnation of the Southeast European economies. So the problems for these problems in our economies, they remain structural problems of our institutional environment. So what could be done, to get to change the situation? To my opinion, the only immediate measure to continue to have growth in this region, a sustainable growth, is the strengthening the regional cooperation. And this is the only way for the economic recovery of these countries. While the lowest point of recession in Southeast Europe seems to have been left behind, the region will feel a crisis much more than the other countries, and the impact will be really very long lasting. Even that the first reaction to the crisis is just, to close our borders and to get away from the global economy, this is not a solution. So although non-integration has proven to be a fortunate event in the last case. Serious regional economic integration in Southeast Europe has started since 1999 with strong involvement of the international community, especially the European Union. And the main initiatives have been Stability Pact for Southeastern Europe and EU Stabilization and Association Process. In 2008, Stability Pact changed its name, and now it's called Regional Cooperation Council, which is really a milestone for the regional cooperation in line with EU guidelines and goals and objectives. Stability Pact is very important because it has two main objectives. First of all, it offers bilateral relationship of the countries with European Union, and also it promotes regional cooperation, which is also an explicit requirement for integration of these countries into the European Union. There have been some good achievements, like the new CEFTA 2006, which is a regional free trade agreement signed in 2006 and ratified in 2007, and this has replaced 32 other agreements, bilateral agreements between the countries. Some other areas of cooperation are the Transport Community Treaty, Agreement on European Common Aviation Area, etc. So regional cooperation is not important just for the transition of these countries into the Southeast into the European Union, but also for increasing the importance of the region as a whole in the global market. Any of the countries of our region, Southeast Europe, cannot compete alone in the global market. The region should offer and should be seen as a unique opportunity, both in terms of size and its global market, with over 50 million people, with a growing purchasing power, with cumulative annual income of over 2 billion euros, geographic proximity to the Western Europe, and should be an attractive destination for market and efficiency-seeking steering for investors. Cooperation also very important in our region because, as you know, the region has faced a lot of unpleasant events during the last 20 years, including here relapses, wars, ethnic problems, and a lot of misunderstanding. So all these events have increased the political instability and consequently the risk of investments. So at the same time, they have hindered the economic development of each of these countries. So in this time of crisis, there are opportunities for the region to cooperate, and I'll divide it in four main areas of cooperation. The first one will be strengthening the regional trade cooperation, since it is in the modest level now. Even that recently the governments have had some success in easing the administrative procedures, still they are lagging behind others. So these levels of intra-regional trade can be increased only by eliminating tariff and non-tariff barriers. So all these countries should achieve as soon as possible a complete trade liberalization and final elimination of all tariffs and quotas between the countries. CEFTA also offers a unique opportunity for governments to solve problems that have to do with non-tariff problems, like the two mentioned taxes. Custom and trade regularization should be harmonized and adapted to European standards. This will lower the transaction cost between the countries, develop comparative advantages of the countries, and will create economies of scale. So countries of the region should work also together on increasing the trade with the West and with the rest of the world. The second will be the countries should focus on policies and reforms that promote institutional development and develop a friendly business environment for the attraction of qualitative FDI. This can be achieved just by consistent political stability, enforcement of laws, healthy fiscal and monetary policies, and very strong anti-corruption reforms. What is more important, these policies should direct the inflow of FDI to the sectors that really augment the domestic investment and lead to sustainable growth. The existence of rule of law and efficient, transparent public administration are the preconditions also, according to European Union, for business development and FDI inflows. Regional cooperation is also important for information sharing and exchanges of best practices. So strengthening education, training, research, and innovation policies through reforms will make still good preconditions for stronger research and development in the region. So there is a general need to improve the scientific structure of the region to attract experts and to reduce really the brain drain that the region is suffering. So public spendings in education are really very low, and they should be, reform is needed for the public spendings. So countries should cooperate and coordinate their programs in this case. So we're talking what the countries should do, so what the governments should do. Lately, the traditional role of state has changed. So globalization has really compromised the ability of state, the ability that state has on trade and on the economy. Integration within the region or in the future into the European Union will take away some of the sovereignty that the states have. But nevertheless, the state still remains important for the future. The state is important for the countries for how to approach the global market, for their development, and for creating a favorable environment for